Hi, I'm Connor Hogan, and I will be giving you guys a brief history of the Nordic country Iceland. First off, did you know that Iceland is home to more than 800 hot springs, 10,000 waterfalls, and 35 active volcanoes? But first, let's go over a brief history of this country. Iceland was founded more than 1,000 years ago during the Viking Age of exploration. The first settlement in Iceland is considered to have been a Norwegian chieftain and his wife. They found an area in the southwest peninsula and named the town Reykjavik, which translates to Smoke Cove. Shortly after this chieftain and his wife, many other families began to follow. In 930, the first parliament was established by these settlers. This parliament was used to amend laws, settle disputes, and appoint juries. Iceland enjoyed a pretty uninterrupted growth for the next 30 years. We're going to fast forward to the 10th century now. At this time, there is a growing effort throughout Europe to convert people to Christianity. And at this time, most of the settlers of Iceland were pagans and worshipped the Norse gods. The Christians showed up to Iceland and civil war broke out and continued for about the next 60 years, back and forth with no real winners or losers. In 1220, Snorri Sturluson and Sturla Sivatsson, forgive me on the name pronunciation, but they both became vassals of the King of Norway. For anybody that doesn't know, a vassal is a holder of land through allegiance. So basically these two people pledged their allegiance to the King of Norway and in turn were given land for themselves and to give out to other people in the area. This greatly increased the power of the Norwegian king at this time. And shortly after, many of the chieftains accepted Norwegian sovereignty and established a union with Norway by signing what's called the Old Covenant. And they remained a part of Norway until 1380, when the death of Olaf II ended the male royal bloodline. Subsequently, Iceland became a part of the Kingdom of Denmark. And then in 1874, Denmark granted Iceland its own constitution and home rule. And we're going to fast forward a little bit to World War II. The Nazi occupation of Denmark began in 1940, and this would cause a sever of all communications to Iceland. Because of this, Icelanders took things into their own hands and began to sort of govern themselves. They established a Ministry of Foreign Affairs, a Coast Guard, and elected a provisional governor. In May of 1940, British troops began to invade Iceland. There was no resistance, but many Icelandic officials did publicly state that this was a blatant violation of Iceland's neutrality. The British troops stayed without incident and left after the war. The following 3 decades after the war were filled with minor disputes with the UK regarding extended fishery limits. Iceland would eventually cut diplomatic ties with the UK and threaten to close US bases on the island. In 2008, the banking system collapsed, forcing the country to seek loans from the IMF and other friendly countries. This collapse caused the current government to resign, and what filled their place was a coalition government consisting of the Social Democratic Alliance and the Left Green Movement. This coalition would go on to appoint Joanna Sigurdardóttir. Again, I'm sorry with the names. But they appointed her as prime minister, and this made her the first openly gay head of state in the entire world. And that is about where my history of Iceland ends. I hope you guys enjoyed this brief history. Again, it's very brief. I highly recommend you visiting the country if possible. And if you're looking for a good time to visit, just so you know, there's going to be a total solar eclipse in August of 2026. And Iceland would be a great place to see that.